Hello, and welcome to Dinosaurs Evolved, another preview video. In this one, we will be talking about dinosaur brains. I kind of make it very dramatic. Alright. The brain of a dinosaur. Some people wouldn't even suspect that they'd be fossilized. Sometimes they do, which is extremely rare, but most of the time they do not. There are very few fossilized brains. There's only like one or two. But we can determine what a dinosaur's brain looked like without a fossil brain, anyway. There are these huge machines that they have in hospitals called CAT scanners. What they do is they put an object, like a skull, dinosaur skull, or a human, into the machine, and it takes multiple x-rays, one layer over another, to make a 3D model in the computer. Using that on a dinosaur skull, we can get a pretty accurate CAT scan of what the brain actually looked like. Here I have two examples of dinosaur brains. They aren't actual brains. They are clay models. The first one I will show you is the stereotypical brain of a dinosaur. This is the brain, a model of the brain, of a 50 to 60 ton sauropod called Sauroposeidon. You notice it's very poorly developed and small. You'd expect an animal that big with a head that about weighed 100 to 200 pounds have a brain about as big as my head. But it's tiny. Well, I have darker spots on this model brain that shows some key features that show us, here's what I'm trying to say here. By CAT scanning and looking at the brain of a dinosaur, we can learn about the sensory and intelligence of the dinosaur. For instance, this dinosaur, this is the intelligence part. Very small. Very, very small. Smell, also very small, as well as sight. I know it's kind of odd that you'd expect the sight part of the brain to be located where the smell is. This is a smell, this is a sight. Sight is underneath the underside of the brain. These two parts here are the hearing, and everything else over here controls the rest of the body. And these are the things that I have placed next to the hearing part of the brain are the inner ears of the dinosaur. Well, scientists, by looking at the inner ear, can also tell how active and agile a dinosaur was. Long, delicate ear canals show that the dinosaur would have been very active. This dinosaur, however, has relatively short, thick ear canals. That tells us it wasn't an active dinosaur at all. It was relatively slow and ponderous, much like a cow you see in a pasture. They spent most of their day grazing. Now I will show you the brain of a carnivore, Tyrannosaurus rex. A creature with a skull 5 feet long Of course, the brain I'm about to show you would be comparable to a Tyrannosaurus of teenage years. Now, compared to Sauroposeidon, it's small. I mean, the Sauroposeidon is small. This is big. And the front part, which controls smell, the front part that controls smell is extremely large. It's massive. That tells us Tyrannosaurus had a really good sense of smell. In fact, it tells us that T-Rex had the best sense of smell of any dinosaur, actually any animal that has ever lived, except for a turkey vulture, which has led some scientists to believe that T-Rex was an inactive scavenger. That's completely wrong, completely false. There is fossil evidence in other dinosaurs with rehealed bones that show that T-Rex tried to kill them, but they got away. Because, well, they made a mistake. This part of the brain, the intelligence part, is large. T-Rex was about as smart as a house cat. That's pretty smart for a dinosaur. Here is sight. The sight part of the brain is massive. Hearing, also very well developed. And, as you can see here, this is the inner ear of a Tyrannosaurus rex. Now, compared to the inner ear of Sauroposeidon, it's very long and delicate. Some scientists have, they came up with the idea that T-Rex was rather inactive for a hunter. He was a hunter, but he was very inactive. But the structure of the inner ear tells me otherwise. Rather than running 18 to 20 miles an hour, as some scientists have suggested in recent years, I believe T-Rex was an extremely fast, agile animal, rather than slow and ponderous like an African elephant. And the inner ear proves it. Beyond a shadow of a doubt, Tyrannosaurus was extremely active, and based on the senses in the brain, it was also an extremely efficient killer and tracker. That is all I will be sharing with you about dinosaur brains. Stay tuned for my next preview video, and keep looking for my upcoming web series, which talks about individual dinosaur genuses. Dinosaurs evolved. See you.